a segment brought to you by the Scott County Public Library. I'm your host, Professor Lincoln, here to showcase some new films that we have and talk about a few older films you may have missed along the way. We're here in homeroom for Cinema Studies 101 for Real Talk Summer School, and class is now in session. Today I'm very excited to be covering 3 different movies from the same decade that all have to talk about filmmaking in that same groovy year, the 1960s. First up, we peek behind the curtain in a movie about movie making in Quentin Tarantino's 2019 classic, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's 1969, and Rick Dalton and his quasi-stunt double best friend, Cliff Booth, are faced with navigating an uncertain Hollywood that is transforming around them by the second, as the old guard of Hollywood and the American Western begins to slowly fade out from the American eye and interest of the public. The film follows 3 days in the life of Cliff Booth, Rick Dalton, and Sharon Tate, each working through their own personal journeys and obstacles while they all are tangibly connected by watching the same TV shows, listening to the same radio programs, and driving through the same streets. The tension is built in as this slice of life drama leisurely works itself towards August 8th, an infamous date to many and a modern tragedy in American history. I believe this is Tarantino at his most sentimental and nostalgic, creating a world of Hollywood the way he wants to remember it. It's a fiction blended with memoir, a modern Western, and a commentary on and a testament to the transformative power of film. Plus, the end montage scene of all the lights going down at dusk is just pure magic and never gets old from the first time you watch it to the 1000th. Next up, before he took us all to a galaxy far, far away, George Lucas pulled us back to the hot rod racing, greasehead wearing year of 1962 and his American classic, American Graffiti. To put it simply, it's one final summer night for a group of high school friends before they each go their separate way into adulthood, and they plan to make the best of it. And make the best of it they do with a cast that's full of an all-star gallery. There's hardly anybody in this picture who hasn't already gone to be a big star. You have Richard Dreyfuss, you have Cindy Williams, Harrison Ford, and Suzanne Summers in her first film role. That's quite the all-star gallery of all-star talent. Not to mention a very respectable dual role of acting and directing credits from Ron Howard and Charles Martin Smith, the latter who is actually the son of cartoonist Charles Smith, who you might know as an artist for Charles Schulz's cartoon of Charlie Brown's from the 60s and 70s. Even though this movie had a small budget and was shot in only 28 days, it was in fact a Universal Picture lot film and was produced by George Lucas's friend Francis Ford Coppola at the time. The financial success for this film was one of the very prevailing factors for George Lucas being able to go and have backing and development for what would ultimately become Star Wars in 1977, changing the movie world in a very real way forever. And lastly, we're going to head all the way east to Baltimore for John Waters' 1988 famous film Hairspray, which is currently streaming on Hoopla. Hairspray tells the classic story of Tracy Turnblad, a heavyset 16-year-old girl who brings fresh dance moves and civil rights changes to the set of the local Baltimore dance show, the Corny Collins Show, in the year of 1962. While the role went on to the unknown Ricky Lake at the time during a casting session, during pre-production, Divine, who was a regular John Waters collaborator and a drag icon at that time, wanted to play both parts of the mother and the daughter before ultimately landing the role of Tracy Turnblad's mother. His experience as Divine was even more helpful throughout production by many of the actresses, including Ricky Lake, teaching them, which I find just hilarious, that be able to walk and dance and learn all the moves for all these different dance numbers in high heels. Divine's real name at the time was Glenn Milstead, who had also worked with Waters all the way back through high school, working with him on over 9 movies through their career before his passing in 1988. He was scheduled to star in a role as the uncle and Married with Children before he passed away the day before. John Waters was well known at this point for many of his cult followed films like Pink Flamingo and Polyester. Made his movie partly based on an actual local Baltimore show at the time called The Buddy Dean Show from his youth. When pitching the idea to the film studios, Waters sold his vision by actually doing all the dance numbers as he told the stories to the executives. So he was there telling the stories while also doing the bug and a bunch of other different dance numbers that were very popular at that time throughout the 60s. And in the end, Hairspray went on to be a critical success for Waters and is still one of his most accessible films in his entire filmography. And just like before, I would like to remind you all of this week's films are available at the public library at any time or on Hoopla for you to be able to check out. And I encourage you to search them out and make a decision for yourself. And come to the library each week to complete your quiz so you may be able to get a chance to win this awesome basket full of prizes, as well as being able to be entered into the contest to win free tickets to the movie theater, as well as free voucher for restaurants all around town. And you can always find every single episode of Real Talk on your Facebook or YouTube. And you can go to our website and you can check out other great Scott County Public Library programs. This has been Professor Lincoln, here always for you to talk about films and to remind you to watch more movies.